This demonstration will cover the host IO limits feature for creating an absolute limit policy. Let's look at now at how we configure those policies. So the first thing we'll do is we'll come to the system option from the dashboard and then go to performance, and from performance go to IO limits. And it tells me I don't have any IO limits configured, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I do that by clicking on the plus button to create a host IO limit. So remember, the host IO limit we're going to create is going to be on a single resource, and we're going to limit this. We're going to give that resource a ceiling of which I can configure IOPs or bandwidth. So let's give this policy a name, and I'll give it a name of absolute limit, because that's what we're trying to configure. Now, this is not a shared policy. Had it been a shared, we'll see that coming up, but I would have had to check that button, shared button. The options I have, the limit types I have, are absolute limit or a density-based limit. We're going to choose an absolute limit in this example. And then I have an option of IOPs or bandwidth. So let's say in this example I want to limit this to, this is a single LUN. So let's say I want to limit to 850 IOPs. And I'll just select the IOPs for now. So I'm done there. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, the policy has been created, but I have to give it a resource of which is going to be put under that policy. So that's what we'll do next. You see us going through the wizard here. The next step is a resource. Well, I have several LUNs configured here. I'm going to choose, in this case, an absolute LUN. It happens to be 100 gigabytes. So I'm going to select that one for my policy, and I'm going to associate that resource with the absolute limit policy. Select next. These examples aren't going to use resources, snapshot resources. I don't have them configured, so I'm just going to say next to that. It will come out and basically show me what I've configured so far. I've given this policy a name. I've given it a maximum number of IOs, and a shared policy is no. And then the resource that I associated with the policy. So that all looks good. I'm going to wait for everything to configure, and it should show me the results. The results should show 100% completed. And they do, the overall status of which the details of that as well. So I'm going to close that up. So I have the policy configured. It's an absolute policy with the max configuration of 800 IOs. There are no bandwidth parameters set, nor is this a burst policy. It is active, and of course every policy you create initially will be active unless you pause it. The resource I assign to it is 1. I can select that if I want, and that will bring me to the resource. There are no snapshots associated with this, nor is it shared. So let's take a look at the storage section of the dashboard, and specifically the block option to look at the LUNs. This should bring up the LUN properties page. So here's the LUNs, and here's the LUN. I have to actually double click that to get the properties. And that's the one I want to look at, and I'm going to do that here. So once I look at the properties, I'll be able to go to the host IO limits and take a look at the graph. So there's my LUN. It's okay. Everything looks good. I'm going to go to the host IO limit, and I'm going to select that. And it is going out here and doing some collection data. You notice the charts have different periods in the time frame that I can look at these. I can look at the IO within the last 3 hours. I can look at it within the last 24 hours. Or I can do it real time. This is the one I'm going to look at next. I can refresh the page, and I can export in a gamma separated value chart, the graph itself. Down here is a legend. The absolute LUN is going to be shown in blue. The current limit that I set is the black line, and you can see that here. I set that up to 850. So let's take a look. Let's go to real time. You saw a little of the chart over there to the right starting already. That could have been old data, so I'm going to refresh this and go to real time and see what we have. So it collects both the bandwidth and both the data, the throughput I should say. And here we come with the chart. So what we see again is here's the absolute LUN. It's throttling now. It's actually about 848 IOs. We set the limit at 850. So basically what we've done is that ceiling is not going to allow this absolute LUN to go above that ceiling in terms of IOs. And you can see there's another parameter for the bandwidth as well. This guy is actually doing around 3,300, 3,400 say, in terms of kbs per second here in bandwidth. But you can see the limit, and that's what we enforced. We enforced this limit, and you see it's pretty throttled right here all the way out. And we can see this in really 5-second intervals here. And so that's the absolute limit. So that is how we create an absolute limit. We put a ceiling on that in terms of IOPs or bandwidth, and then we went to the IO limit chart and looked at the graph here and basically saw the throttling being done. So that concludes the absolute limit policy lab.